Oklahoma City, otherwise called OKC, is the capital and biggest city in the territory of Oklahoma, USA. This vibrant and dynamic city offers a special mix of metropolitan fervor and Midwestern appeal. It is where current conveniences and a rich history consistently coincide. This city is home to significant games groups including the NBA's Oklahoma City Roar. In spite of the terrible occasions of the Oklahoma City besieging in 1995, Oklahoma City has encountered variances in its crime percentage over the course of the years, with crime percentages being higher than the public normal, and it was in this town that the episode happened, which profoundly affected individuals. To return to where it started, on February 12, 1989, Kristen Hatfield was brought into the world to her mom, Shannon Hatfield, in Oklahoma region. Not much has been aware of who her dad was. Shannon before long became a single parent, and she lived with Kristen's uncles while bringing up her girls, Kristen and Confidence. In 1997, Kristen was a second grader at Traub Primary School in Midwest City, Oklahoma. On May 13, 1997, Kristen's mom, Shannon Hatfield, followed their standard sleep time normal and wrapped Kristen up, Confidence, into bed around 11:30 p.m. Little did Shannon had any idea this would be the last second she would see one of her little girls. She left the room entryway somewhat open and hit the hay around 3 a.m. In the first part of the day, she heard weird commotions coming from the young lady's room. However, the possibility of Confidence talking in her rest rung a bell. She actually went to examine, yet when she arrived at the room, the clamor had halted. Strangely, she seen that the entryway, which she had left marginally a container, was presently shut. Hesitant to upset her little girls during the night, Shannon returned to rest, a choice she would perpetually lament the following morning. On May 14, 1997, around 6 to 6:30 a.m., Shannon went to awaken her young ladies. Kristen's sister Confidence was snoozing close by. However, Kristen was not in her bed. She was missing. Shannon looked through around the house. She asked Confidence where Kristen was. Nevertheless, she realized nothing. Kristen's mom quickly called the police to report her vanishing. 911 My girl, I got up earlier today and she's not in her bed. She's feeling the loss of. She's 8 years of age. Has she at any point left before? No, never. With the exception of the weak whimpering Shannon heard before, no other person in the house heard anything dubious like a shout or indications of a battle. It's accepted that Kristen had proactively vanished from her room. Around then, Shannon heard the commotion, assuming that her mom had glimpsed inside the room. When she heard the hints of Destiny crying, she would have seen that Kristen was gone. They might have begun looking through before and maybe found something sooner. However, this was not understood until the following day, when Kristen's mom seen something surprising. The room entryway was shut, which was not typical. The police at first viewed as the likelihood that Kristen had gone out all alone during the night. They conjectured that she could have gone to a companion's home, going for a stroll around the area, or visited a close-by park. In spite of the fact that it might have appeared to be uncommon, there were situations where youngsters had left their homes around evening time and meandered around just to be found later. Anyway, for Kristen's situation, the police's expectation ended up being wrong. What's more, their underlying hypothesis was discredited. After looking at Kristen's room, the police saw that her window was marginally open and found a little blood stain on the windowsill. They scanned the house in the yard for signs outside. They found Kristen's bundled up clothing against the wall, likewise smudged with blood. It was clear that Kristen hadn't just strayed on her own. She had been stole, placing her in impending peril. The police figured out the direness of the circumstance and realized that time was basic. Kristen was most recently seen at 11:30 p.m. the earlier evening, and her vanishing was found at 6:30 a.m. the following morning, a range of 7 hours where anything might have happened. The police immediately started looking through the local, interrogating neighbors concerning any sightings of Kristen or any strange action during the night. One inhabitant detailed hearing canines yelping around 2 to 3 a.m. however found nothing dubious when he examined blood tests from the clothing and window seal were shipped off the lab for examination. Shockingly, the outcomes demonstrated that the blood didn't have a place with Kristen. It was from an unidentified male. Presently, Kristen's mom was a single parent. Kristen and Confidence resided in their uncle's home with her. Shannon likewise had a past filled with illicit drug use. Kristen's uncles and their families were not exceptionally partial to Shannon, considering Kristen's family gives the police barred no relatives as Likely suspects or people who could know about her vanishing. They completely researched everybody and circled back to each lead and tip they got anyway. None of these roads yielded any huge data, prompting a speedy stagnation for the situation. Throughout the long term, Kristen's name blurred from the public discussion and she became known as the young lady, at times highlighted on missing individual flyers in and out of town. Regardless, her not entirely set in stone to find answers, and the police were similarly dedicated to not abandoning the case. 18 years after Kristen's vanishing in June 2015, another group joined the examination concerning Kristen's vanishing, adopting a new strategy. They chose to resubmit the DNA tests found on the window and the casualty's clothing to the data set. With headways in innovation as time elapsed, they desire to find a match. DNA examination was all the while creating in the last part of the 90s, so somebody who wasn't in the framework then may be currently boss Brandon Separates of the Midwest City Police Division had an unflinching assurance to tackle the case. Investigator Daryl, mill operator, likewise felt areas of strength for a two-at mill operator, and Brandon consented to deal with the case together. They had a total male DNA profile from the crime location matching the bloodstains on the window and the clothing. Their initial step was running the DNA tests through copulation, the joint DNA file framework. Sadly, they didn't track down a match. However, they stayed confident they had a rundown of roughly 100 men to consider. Since the DNA had a place with a male, they dispose of people who were obviously not involved and zeroed in on the people who appear to be dubious. They intend to visit them and gather DNA tests for correlation with the DNA saw as in 1997. One individual of interest was a 55-year-old Anthony Palma, the neighbor who heard canines yapping around 2 to 3 a.m. the evening of the vanishing. At first he wasn't considered dubious. During the scrutinizing in 1997, when he was 38 years of age, Palma guaranteed he was at home when Kristen disappeared, hitting the hay around 2 to 3 a.m. Subsequent to hearing the canines woofing in 1997, he was addressed because of his closeness to the Hatfield home and his supposed yard work for them, which he strangely denied. He likewise denied knowing Kristen's mom. In June 2015, specialists chose to return to Palma. His better half referenced his profound response to Kristen's vanishing and his experience with the family. Palma saw a white Chevy truck at the Hatfield home the day Kristen disappeared. He consented to give a DNA test through a mouth swab. On July 22, 2015, the Oregon State Department of Examination affirmed that Palma's DNA matched the DNA found at the crime location. In July of this current year, we got a report from OSPI that showed the blood test from Kirsten Hatfield's undies, and furthermore the blood on their windowsill matched Anthony Palma, and the match was 1 in 293 sextillion. As specialists checked on the old case record, they found disparities between the data given by Palma and the items in the record. They couldn't find any documentation demonstrating that his home had been looked in 1997. Criminal investigator mill operator got the outcomes and he shouted Anthony Palma was the executioner. The DNA from the windowsill and clothing matched Palma's. Notwithstanding his cases of being profoundly impacted by the case, he had misled the police. They had never looked through his home in 1997, raising doubts about what could have been found then. At first Palma denied realizing the family, yet Kristen's mom recollected a discussion with him that left her uncomfortable anyway. In her uplifted remained after her little girl's vanishing, she hadn't thought of him as a probable suspect and saw everybody as weird and dubious. Yet the well-disposed neighbor Palma previously had mysteries concealed in his life's set of experiences. Anthony Palma was brought into the world in 1959. The police figured out that Palma had previously served 18 months of a 5-year sentence sometime before he even lived close to the Hatfields. During his preliminary, another lady affirmed that Palma had sedated and attacked her when she was 17. This uncovered an example of upsetting conduct. Specialists then, at that point, dove into Palma's past and found upsetting episodes. In 1980 he was associated with breaking into his better half's sister's room, attacking her and getting away. Prior to getting captured, the police saw his truck left close by yet needed proof for a capture. He viciously attacked and went after his landowner, prompting a conviction for threatening behavior. Incredibly, Palma had been residing close to the Hatfields' home for quite a long time. Kristen was only 1 year old at the time he had moved. Specialists were right there. both excited to interface him to the case and dazed that he had been directly in front of them. Up and down, the effect on the family must be envisioned. Getting back to the case, by October 12, 2015, the examiners had assembled sufficient proof to meet with Palma. They inquired as to whether he recollected that anything uncommon about the day or even before Kristen's vanishing. I really want to find her here. I really want to find Kirsten. Assist me with finding her. Okay, Palma answered by denying any contribution with Kristen or her family aside from seeing a white truck in front of their yard. He guaranteed that he normally invested his energy dealing with his yard and fixing neighbors' bicycles, yet denied bringing the children over to his home. He referenced having a girl named Tristy who frequently played with the local children. When asked if he'd seen Kristen and her mom Shannon around the local, Palmer professed to have seen Kristen playing with another young lady named Precious Stone. However, he was unable to review the particular time period. He expressed that he was by and large wary around individuals and didn't pay a lot consideration regarding who was there. Palmer denied having any associations with Kristen, never reviewing, assisting her with her bicycle or conversing with her. He declared that he didn't know Kristen or her family and didn't know about how long they had resided there. The evening of May 13, 1997, Palma said he didn't take off from his home. He referenced that his canine woofed at the back wall, accepting it was because of the presence of different creatures or canines in the space. Palma didn't explore further and essentially called the canine inside previously hitting the sack. I had a canine in the lawn around 3 or 4 a.m. He went to race. Now it awakened me and he was yapping at that back wall. I just hollered at him and he came in and I hit the hay. Palma communicated doubt towards Shannon for going out, accepting that she ought to have remained on the off chance that Kristen returned or got a call. Palma raised Shannon's medication use and referenced permitting her sibling who was helping look for Kristen to remain at his place briefly when requested from Shannon's sibling trusted in him or gave any valuable data. Palma denied it during the meeting. The specialists defied Palma with the DNA proof. His DNA was found on the window mark of Kristen's room and on the clothing found in the patio, regardless of his previous cases of never being in the terrace or having any contact with Kristen. Palmer's rehashed refusal and absence of clarification for his DNA being available raised doubts in spite of the fact that there could be authentic explanations behind his DNA to be seen as in another person's lawn. Palma's past assertions went against the proof, leaving him with no great reason on. Your blood is on her window. Your blood is on Kirsten's undies. I fail to understand how that can happen. Your DNA is in the terrace the morning that she was found missing. Okay, no, not me. A tide wasn't in that patio. I don't have any idea how my blood might have been there. Let me know you were there. This is logical proof. It's anything but a discussion. Following 18 years, on October 12, 2015, the same day after his cross-examination, Anthony Palma was captured and accused of the grabbing and assumed first-degree murder of 8-year-old Kristen Hatfield. During the preliminaries in 2017, he argued not blameworthy. However, on October 13, 2017, he was found blameworthy. We are stunned by this supernatural occurrence and we are so. On November 27, 2017, the jury sentenced him and he got a lifelong incarceration without the chance for further appeal. Shockingly, he decided not to pursue his conviction, which is uncommon for somebody guaranteeing honesty in spite of different open doors. Palmer wouldn't uncover the area of Kristen's remaining parts. Shannon, Kristen's mom, kept in touch with him in jail multiple times. However, he requested that she stop. On January 11, 2019, Palma was choked to death by a fellow prisoner who was carrying out a daily existence punishment for first-degree murder. He was 59 years of age. Despite the fact that Palma probably knew where Kristen's remaining parts were, the family actually trusted that another person could have gotten that data and will approach. Shannon showed empathy by communicating pardoning and not needing Palma's life to end in such a way, not observing Anthony Palmer's homicide. I'm not commending that, and I really am petitioning God for his family. The case was viewed as tackled, albeit the area of Kristen's body stayed obscure. One lead recommended her body may be covered in an adjoining town, yet a pursuit yielded nothing. Palmer's home was entirely looked through all around, however no proof was found inside the house. They tracked down kids' teeth, yet they had a place with Palma's own little girl, yet they have a place with Palma's own girl, as he had kept them in the wake of playing the toothpicksy. Kristen's family decided to excuse Palma for what he had done, trusting that their pardoning would lead him to uncover the area of Kristen's body. Sadly, he never did. She had previously communicated her pardoning in a letter to Palma, wishing he would track down it in his heart to give the data they looked for. The snatching of Kristen Hatfield was a case that made the collusion a criminological science with criminal science more significant, yet Kristen's body is as yet not found.